government of Kenya is only concerned with the return of their private investors in the refinancing and repayment of the bond, rather than looking at the bigger picture of the overall burden that is compounded by the pricing of the new Eurobond. Most importantly, we wonder when the Public Finance Act, that is Section 15(2)(b) on fiscal responsibilities, that requires that in the medium term, all borrowing by the government be only for development initiatives and not recurrent is applicable. We also wonder when the law changed to allow for significant medium-term borrowing for debt servicing. The continued acquisition of debt on political and economic means instead of legal and constitutional foundation is very concerning for a sovereign state. We reiterate that we are a country that is governed by the rule of law, and we expect strict adherence to the law, including public finance management and management of public debt. The Okoa Uchumi Coalition notes that the new Eurobond has a B rating according to Fitch and S&P, with a negative outlook due to Kenya's external debt refinancing risks amid high external debt service requirements. This is a warning sign that not all is well in Kenya. Even more concerning is that suddenly credit rating agencies and international markets that previously warned about Kenya's unsustainable debt have surprisingly expressed confidence in the Kenyan economy. Yet it is in the public domain that the sole purpose of the $1.5 billion Eurobond is to repay the $2 billion due in June 2024. We see this process as a vicious cycle of Eurobond and debt repayment with no plan to increase economic growth.
In conclusion, the Okoa Uchumi Coalition calls on the Kenyan government to look for the best financial strategies that will not result in increased debt distress because of the short-term means of financing its development goals. The financing strategies used by the government should reflect the true face of humanity, as highlighted in the Harare Declaration's call for citizenry and people's voices. We call on Parliament, as per Article 211 of the Constitution, to report to the people of Kenya the analysis conducted in the Eurobond buyback and the setting of the interest rates on the 2024 Eurobond and the February infrastructure debt, the use of the two bonds flouted, and whether it was specifically approved by Parliament, and the plans made at ensuring servicing of the same debts optimally and in due regard of the Kenyan demographic dividend that does not deserve the continued debt burden. Signed by the Okoa Uchumi campaign members, African Forum on Debt Development, AFRODAT, the Institute of National Accountability, Crown Trust, Kenya Human Rights Commission, Transparency International Kenya, Action Aid International Kenya, Christian Aid Kenya, Inuka, ECC. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's the end of our statement. Just to highlight, it's the Public Finance Management Act, and we are happy to receive questions. You have asked for us on the other side to introduce ourselves. My apologies.
Okay, my name is
David Professor.
I'm a man, understand.
Catherine, get your news.
Erasmus Stanley.
Joanne, Top Media.
Ryan.
Ulai Muli, Arms Officer DC.
Thank you very much. Any questions, points of clarification?
clarification?
Yeah, maybe on the point where you noted that, I think it was her, that it's paradoxical for the government to be concerned with restoring investor confidence in the country, without necessarily, looking at what encourages such a debt remain for Kenyans, and especially with the current tax regime that we are seeing. Perhaps you can elaborate more on that, and also speak to the high taxation and because we know that the loans from IMF and the always come with a lot of conditions that you have to hike your taxes, you have to do ABCD. As Kenyans, how do we get out of that particular problem? Because it seems to be a vicious cycle.
Please summarize in Kiswahili for Mama Mboga.
Okay.
Okay. Some will argue that if the government had repaid the youth contribution, it would have collapsed the economy. And you are regulating, you are controlling. What's the best approach that the government will use in this case?
Thank you very much for those questions. And first is for us to recognize that any debt we take is not to stabilize the economy. If anything, it is always deferred taxation. It is taxation that the Kenyan people must pay in the future. So the same way every year you see a finance bill being negotiated for current tax. Anytime we take a bond, a loan, whether it matures in 5 years or 30 years, ultimately it is tax that will come back. And the current tax that we have is because we are in a fiscal consolidation process. Why? Because our independent institutions, as early as 2014, 2015, 2019, were able to consistently raise that there is a problem with how we are acquiring debt, utilizing it, and thereafter, even how we are negotiating and repaying. One, we do not want Kenya to collapse, but we are repaying the 2 billion euro bond that was questioned by the Auditor General around how it was utilized. No effort whatsoever has gone into finding out if this debt was misappropriated. Can we get the culprit to answer and pay? Because then it never benefited the Kenyan people, and therefore it should not form part of their deferred taxation. Instead, what do we see? A mop-up of all loans from multilateral institutions like the IMF floating over another Eurobond with a higher interest rate. And remember, the interest rate that this 2014 Eurobond was issued, by the time it is maturing and due to currency fluctuation, it is at double that rate. What does that mean for the Kenyan people? So we may be celebrating not collapsing in 2024, but we are being mandated for a collapse. Maybe a harsher collapse. And that is what we are questioning, that there ought to have been a very open discussion by our members of parliament who have the ultimate responsibility on debt. Based on where we stand, we believe that the process that was started by the Public Debt and Privatization Committee, and among others, Senator Okia Omutata, we must audit all our debt. Most of our debt is odious. The Controller of Budget, the Auditor General says, we are not sure where the debt goes. That is against the Constitution. Imagine paying for something we do not know as Kenyans, and we feel it is okay. We even go ahead and float an infrastructure bond at 18%. The Mama Mboga, the hustler, has now been denied credit because everybody is loaning to government at a very high interest rate. Surely, isn't that another eminent economic collapse? that we are looking at. So that would be my summary, but our colleagues can add. Angela here is our Swahili.
I just want to add on what Diana said. You know, debt distress comes at a time when you are not able to repay debt. And when you look at our program in 2014, it was taken the purpose of development. But there is no clarity about this Eurobond was used, and you know its maturity is nearing. So now, we went to the market to take a new Eurobond in 2024. The 1.5 million is to repay the 2 billion that was not really clear in terms of its usage. And now with the new interest rate that comes, the higher, we are postponing the predicament of this payment to the generation to come. So we are asking ourselves, are we living in a country that needs its coming generation to have a burden of debt repayment? No. Our concern here is not about the Eurobond as per se, but the accountability and the transparency of how this Eurobond was used. Because if we continue to take extra money from IMF, which comes with the conditionalities. For example, we know that with the IMF, the austerity measures that comes with their loans. One example, you know, we have to cut down on some of the basic needs, for example, education sector.